Managing your career is basically what this presentation is going to be about. When I think of our careers and how people go through life related to their careers, they typically leave it up to the company that they're with to kind of progress them through however they see fit. And I have an issue with this. I've always had an issue with it, but of course, working in HR, you have your limits and what you can and can't do. So ever since I've been out of HR, but also, well, not out of HR, but out of corporate America, I've been trying to help different individuals that I know, people that are just randomly sent to me with different situations that they're in. And this is a part of that. As you can see on the screen, I do have a business. It's called Engagement in HR, and I assist with training individuals as well as in organizations, training from diversity and inclusion to just assisting individuals with different situations that they may be going through within their organization, or we're trying to leave their organization and go to a different organization. So we're doing this in partnership with the Kairos Moment, and I hope that you guys get a lot out of this. I put the presentation together initially and it was 45 minutes, so I had to bring it down. So I'm hoping that I'm still able to share enough information with you guys. Um, our focus points today, we'll have a scripture reference. We'll talk about your HR team. We'll talk about diversity and inclusion, FMLA/HIPAA and your privacy, and then managing your career. All right, so for scripture focus, we're going to go with Hosea 4 and 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. This is definitely true. Proverbs 18:15. An intelligent heart acquires knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge. Hebrews 13:16. And do not forget to do good and to share with others, for with such sacrifices, God is pleased. And my purpose in what I do is to share knowledge that I have because honestly, God's words require it. So I'm hoping again that you guys get a lot out of this. I need you guys to come off your mics and we'll come on a little bit just to answer this question for me. How many of you have read your company's handbook? I need an answer.
Me. Me.
Not me.
Only a little bit. Only a little bit.
Oh my God. You
Not,
guys.
not me.
Oh God. It drives me crazy. Ladies, the company handbook exists for a reason. Please get a copy of your handbook and read through it. I know nowadays they have it online. Most of them don't print them out anymore. But if you can get a copy or if you have to go online and read it, please do. This book is basically the company telling you the do's and the don'ts of the organization. So please get that. I know NHO, if you can see in my screen, it says NHO versus cover to cover. In new hire orientation, HR is typically gonna go over like the key points here and there throughout the books, but there's a lot more information in that book that you guys do not have a clue about. Please, please, please read your handbook. It can keep you out of trouble. It can help you to advance and do different things within the organization as well. And also, just a side note for entrepreneurs, if you have a business that you want to grow and you want to, hire different people, whether it's family, friends, etc., your handbook should be developed. You should have policies and procedures because you need to set the boundaries and the expectations in the beginning so that there are no questions, no concerns, no anything. People know what you expect and they know what you want out of them. So please, if you are starting a business and you plan to grow that business, please develop a handbook. It's very important. All right. And then when we think about an HR team, back in the day, like when our parents were, working and things, HR really was about helping the employee to manage, different situations, help them to advance in their career. But nowadays, HR's main purpose is to protect the organization and basically to keep that organization out of the courtroom. Okay, so when you are dealing with HR teams, and the people on HR teams, please be mindful that all HR teams are not created equal. You have different divisions of HR these days. You have different individuals and roles that they have different skill levels. They have different education levels. Their roles and responsibilities are different. You have different personality types. And then there are certain behaviors that just being a person and having a certain personality type, you behave differently. Some HR people, you can tell all your business, your personal business, etc. They'll keep it to themselves. Some you can't do that because they will spread it, and there'll be rumors everywhere. So when you are dealing with HR, just please be mindful. And then when you think about the different roles and responsibilities, there are typically, depending on how big your organization is, you can have 3 people in HR, 2 people in HR. Some companies have 1 person in HR. It all depends, but be mindful of their positions. You have HR assistants, you have HR coordinators, you have HR generalists, HR reps, HR managers, HR directors, HR VPs. Like, they go all the way up. And at the different levels, those individuals can do different things. So be mindful of what their responsibilities are and how they can and can't help you. Dealing with some people, you may think that you have the right person and you may not. So just make sure that you understand their role and their responsibility related to what you're going to them for. Again, I need you guys to answer a question for me. When you hear the words diversity, equity, and inclusion, what do you think about? I need a response. I want to know what you think about when you hear diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Racism.
Okay, racism. Hello.
Excuse me, being included in um, different parts of the department, not just because you work in one department, including different departments on certain decisions that would affect the whole entire agency.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
I think
So,
I
okay,
I
go ahead.
think right now, because my company is trying to do more of it. I think some upper management feeling bad because it hasn't always been like that. So now they're trying to focus more on that to try to make you feel like you're involved and you're a part of. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Mhm. And I hear you say to make you feel, and that's a big part of it. They want to make you feel as if things are happening that in most cases are not really happening. When most people, regardless of their race, ethnicity, whatever, when they hear diversity, equity, and inclusion, they think race, racism, injustices, and ways to deal with it. When companies and the consultants that they hire think about it, they're thinking about it like this: diversity is basically anything that makes us different. From my list, we have age, race, sexual orientation, education level, marital status, disabilities. Anything that makes us different is what they consider a diversity. When it comes to equity, it's about the fair treatment and access to opportunities and the advancement of people, but at the same time, also trying to identify barriers that may prevent different groups from being able to do certain things. And then when it comes to inclusion, it's the effort put forth by the organization, or whatever the team or whatever it is, to basically put into practice and make sure that different individuals from different backgrounds are being included in certain conversations. They try to do this on different levels. They will start committees. They will do women's groups, engineering groups, just different things that they can think of to kind of like get different perspectives from those individuals that are in those groups. So say you have engineers that work in an organization. You may have an engineer that's 70 years old. You may have an engineer that's 18 years old. You'll have a few in the middle. You'll have Black, white, Asian, Indian, etc. They feel like because that group is diverse, that group is going to come up with different policies and procedures, or just different things within the organization to help assist with different things. But when we are thinking about diversity, equity, inclusion, we are thinking about, the racial part of it. What is happening in this organization that involves racism or injustices or systematic issues that may be happening to keep, Black people or people of color from being able to advance. So when you look at what the company is doing versus what we feel like we want them to be doing, it's not the same. So please be mindful of that. A lot of companies are doing diversity and inclusion trainings, and basically because of everything that's happening in the world, but a lot of that doesn't even touch on, the real issue. So just be mindful. Diversity and inclusion in an organization is not going to be the same as what you have in your mind. All right. So managing your career. All right. So when we talk about managing your career, again, like I said, a lot of people allow the organization to kind of, you know, progress them and do whatever they want to do. When you think about your career, a lot goes into this. The first thing I'm going to cover is FMLA. FMLA is basically the organization had, if you are approved for FMLA through your doctor, the organization has to accommodate you, depending on what that is. It could be weeks out of work. It could be months out of work. It could be intermittent FMLA, which is when you have different things going on. Say, for instance, your mom has something that requires that she has to go to the doctor once a week for 6 weeks. You have FMLA to cover that. So you'll miss a couple of hours or days or however long your doctor approves you for that time period to be able to be out of work. FMLA is good. A lot of people don't know how it works. Um, FMLA saves your job, not that specific position that you are in, but it saves your job. And you, when you come back, you go into a job of equal value, right? Sometimes your job will still be there. It just depends on how long you're out of work. But please be mindful that it doesn't have to be your exact same job. When you're out on FMLA, your supervisor is allowed to reach out to you, one, to check up on you. Hopefully, they care enough to actually check up on you and check up on you, related to your health. And then they are not allowed to harass you. A lot of employers have their supervisors to call to check on employees. And because typically you're going to have a relationship with your supervisor, they'll ask you, what's going on, what the actual issue is with you, how long you're going to be out, when you're expected to come back. If it's getting close to the date that you're supposed to return, they'll call you and say, are you still coming back? Whatever, whatever. They are allowed to call you and check on you. They're allowed to call and get, information on when you will return to work, but they are not allowed to call you and ask you any questions related to your actual illness, anything related to any kind of surgeries or anything that you may have to do coming up. None of that. That is your personal information. That's your medical information. HIPAA exists to keep that information confidential, because any amount of information related to your health can ultimately cause an organization or an individual within an organization to, I guess, look down on you or feel some type of way, because if you have a certain medical condition and you're in line to move up into other positions, but yet this may take you out of job for a certain amount of time or whatever, they're going to look down on that. And that could potentially lead to discrimination, because if LaShawn can't do such and such because we need her to be able to travel, she needs to be able to do this. However, we know that she has FMLA for this amount of time because of this disease, then it could potentially look like, they're discriminated against me. It should not keep you from being able to advance into a role. It should not be able to keep you from participating on a project or any kind of special assignment or anything of that sort. If this is something that typically happens in the organization, if you're on FMLA, then it should be covered. And again, I say do not share any specific information about your illness. As much as you can, keep it away from them, because they will discriminate against you. And also, if you are applying for a new job, going through the interview process, don't mention any kind of illnesses or anything like that, because again, that could keep you from getting the job. It could have them discriminate against you. And yeah, it's against the law to do that. However, how can you prove that you didn't get the job because you had a disability or you had an illness that you told them about? That's why I say don't mention any of that in the beginning. After you're at the job, that is the appropriate time to mention anything related to FMLA or any kind of intermittent FMLA that you may have, or if you have a disability of some sort. As long as it's not going to cost the company an extremely amount of money, they have to basically accommodate your disability. When we talk about, and also confidential information, when it comes to your information, I know we have friends that we work with and we share information with, but if you can't 100% trust that that person is not going to go tell that information to anyone else, don't share that information with them. Keep any type of information that could potentially lead to any type of discrimination against you. Keep that to yourself. Talk to your friends, talk to your family. Don't put that information out at your job. With this, it's also great to have a relationship with your doctor, a good relationship with your doctor. Over the recent years, we've all been through a little bit of something because of the pandemic, stress, anxiety, etc. I have had several friends to reach out. I need time off work. I know I'm working from home, but I have this, and this going on, the kids, et cetera, et cetera. What can I do? This is when a relationship with your doctor is really good. They can take you out of work for mental, okay, for mental reasons. They can get you out of work for a week, 2 weeks, however long it needs. Even if you don't have an actual health condition per se, they can still assist you with getting out of work. So be mindful of that. Self-care. Self-care is very important. We all get PTO time, sick time, whatever they call it at your job. Take those days, take that time off, get away from your computer. Do not work, do not do anything. If somebody calls you from work, don't answer the phone. You need self-care. Self-care is very important. So take that time. It's given to you for a reason. Okay. Succession planning. So succession planning is going on at all times. A lot of people do not know about succession planning, don't even know what it is, but basically it's the company looking at the roles that they have within the organization from the top to the bottom and looking at the individuals in the middle to say, hey, who do we have to take over this role for the manager, VP, whatever it is? And they're looking at people within the organization who can take those roles. So in most organizations, you're going to have your high potentials, your mid potentials, and your low potentials. High potentials are those individuals who get to do different projects. They offer them mentors. They do all types of things with them because they want them to be able to take over that role if that individual leaves or retires. Mid, they get a little bit, they're trying to figure them out to see if they could potentially become a high potential. And then you have those that are low, that are basically just there to do their job. Most of them don't have any, desire to be in that type of role. So they don't really look at them in that way. So just be mindful. You could be a high potential, a mid, or a low. If you are interested in growing within your organization, you need to do more. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. When we talk about implicit biases, we all have them. It's based on our upbringing. It's based on stereotypes. And then we have these certain attitudes towards others. And it can cause you to judge people differently or, do things. Racism is one of those things. Some of us have racism in us and it just happens, right? So when people are interviewing for jobs, they tell us that, basically you have this implicit bias within you and you're looking to hire people that look like you, people that have certain personalities like you have and things like that. This happens all the time. So just be mindful of that just in your job, just something that you need to be mindful of. It exists and people will discriminate against you based on, little things. Then we have things matter that should not. Okay, so being too quiet, being too loud, knowing too much, not being interactive enough or not sharing enough. These things should not matter. If I come to work every day and I do my job and I do my job well, that should be enough for me to advance in my career, right? No. Again, some people in certain organizations are, honestly, they're ridiculous. They feel like, they want to know your business. If you're not sharing or doing this or doing that, then they feel like you're hiding something or you're keeping something away from them. It's crazy. But again, we have to work through these things just because if you are someone who's an introvert like me, you may kind of shrink back when it comes to volunteering to be on a project or volunteering to take a trip with another coworker out to do something. These things you kind of need to do if you want to progress within an organization. They want to see people that are kind of outgoing, but you can't be too outgoing. If you are too outgoing or too loud or know too much, then someone may feel intimidated by you and feel like you're coming for their job. So just be mindful. Little things that you feel like shouldn't be an issue can be an issue because, again, implicit bias exists and people look at things very differently than they should. Resources that are available to you. So as you are going through managing your career, there are different things that you have to kind of do. All right. Your manager should be a resource for you. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but again, they should be a resource for you. HR, human resources should be a resource for you. Getting a mentor, whether that's inside the organization or outside the organization, I would suggest both of them. Taking trainings, focus trainings on different things that you want to improve in on yourself. Your company may have options. You may have to go outside and look for options. YouTube has a million videos on different things to teach you. Reading your company handbook. Peers, they do not have to be in this organization, but they could also be in other organizations, like in the same community or whatever. You may be able to find individuals who are this, in the same type of role as you are. And then people say, well, how do you find these people? How do you find mentors? How do you find peers who work in different organizations? Well, community service, volunteering for different things within the community. Also, professional organizations, HR, we have, SHRM, so we are all involved in that. So just different ways for you to gain access to other people and to potentially get mentors. Of course, books, we can all learn from books and reading. Education reimbursement programs, please take advantage of them if you can. Not all the time will you be allowed to do that because most companies look at the path that they have you on. I actually had an experience with this. I wanted to go after my master's, and I went to talk to my manager, who was the HR director at the time. And he told me because of the path that I was on, or that they had me on, that I couldn't take advantage of it. But I went ahead and did it anyway, because of course, me being me, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to advance my career. And, I wanted my master's, so I went ahead and got it. But one day I was getting ready to leave work and I was packing up my bag and my bag was heavy. And he just so happened to walk through and he asked, what is in that bag? I said, my books. And he was like, what do you mean your books? I said, my books. I'm going to class. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to class. I'm taking classes. He was like, well, I thought that we agreed that you wouldn't go to school. I said, no, you said I couldn't take advantage of the education reimbursement program. However, I'm still going to school. And he looked red as a beet, like he was so red. And a couple of days passed and he came back to me and he basically, not in these same exact words, but he basically said, just the fact that I decided to go ahead and get my master's anyway made him look at me differently because he realized that I wasn't, this person to just sit back and just take whatever they gave me, that I'm still going to go and I'm still going to strive, to do better. So just be mindful of that. And then the other thing is employee assistance programs. Most organizations have them. We call them EPAs. Check into your handbook, check with HR, check with your supervisor. They offer financial counseling. They offer mental health counseling. There are different things that they offer within these organizations. Some of them offer assistance with daycare and things like that. So just be mindful of that and know that there are programs out there that can assist you within your organization, or most organizations, I will say. And then the next thing I would say, you will have to invest in yourself. And I'm not saying this just to kind of, promo something that I have going on, but you do have to invest in yourself. Not every organization is going to be open to, sending you to a training or paying for this book for you to read, or, just whatever it is that you're interested in doing, even if it's something as simple as, an Excel training that you want to take. That's going to be beneficial to the organization as well as you, but some companies will not pay for that. So you may have to go out and pay to have, to take that training. And again, I will talk a little bit more about it, but I do offer trainings and I do have one coming up and I want you guys to be aware of that. And then last but not least, I want everyone to think about where you are currently. It's never too late to start, so I don't even want to hear that, but put yourself in the best possible situation for yourself. When I think about just different people that I've worked with over the years and how they've been in their roles for such a long period of time, they do not work on their resume. They don't take trainings. They don't do anything. They're just waiting for the company to say, "Hey, we're going to put you in this role, or we want you to apply for this role." You need to put yourself in the best position possible in order for you to be able to move whenever you need to move. Get your resume together. Put your resume out there, apply for jobs. You've been on your job for 5 years, making the same money that you've been making, that you made for the last 3 years. I guarantee you, leaving one organization and going to another, you're going to make more money. And you may say, well, my job is flexible with this and I can do that. And, daycare this, whatever, whatever. If that company will be flexible, this company will also be flexible. Please be aware of that. Your company will not pay you what you really deserve, but they'll hire somebody in basically with the same education level, same experience, same whatever, whatever, and pay them more than what they're paying you. And if you were, I've seen this several times, you leave the company, go work somewhere else and come back to that company, then they'll pay you what you're worth. Okay. But then you get caught in that cycle again. So always be ready. Get your resume together, financials together. Sharon was going to go through some of this and I'm sure we'll get back to her, but have your finances in order so that if you need to leave a job, if you're miserable in your job, which a lot of us have been, you shouldn't have to stay in that role. You should not have to do that. Get your finances together, get your health together, do what you need to do there. Get your education. If you are in a position, I know several people who are in positions like accounting and things like that. They have, some of these skills you learn. Even in HR, you learn these skills just over time, but they don't go and get a degree or anything in that area, any kind of certification or anything. Get that stuff. It helps you when you want to leave that organization and go to another. And if you can get that organization to pay for it, that's even better. So just put yourself in situations where you can, be in a situation to leave. Even if it's to the point where you are so miserable that you want to just leave and you don't even have a job. Your savings is there. You have 401k, you have this, you have that to save you. You have a little side gig that you have a side gig that you got going on. I feel like we should all have several forms of income coming in, but that's a whole nother story for another day. But do things to help you get to a place where you don't have to depend on that organization. You can go to a different organization at any time. Your finances are together. You're good there. But I mean, it drives me crazy, and I'm so passionate about this. I want everybody to be able to do what they want to do with their lives, whether that is a 9 to 5 or if you do have something that you're passionate about and you want to, step out and do that. And I know lately a lot of people have been becoming entrepreneurs, and a lot of people are like, why does everybody have to be I'm not saying you have to be an entrepreneur. I'm saying if that is something you want to do, put yourself in a position to get there. Okay. And then lastly, at this point, I have given you a lot of key information. Okay. So you know better now. It's time for you to do better. Okay. My first scripture that I spoke to was Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. I didn't finish it because I want to finish it now. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. And seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. Put yourself in a position to be able to manage your career so that you can also teach this to your children. We have to break these generational curses that exist for us, specifically us as Black people. We all know what we've been through and why we were in certain positions that we are in. But as you grow and you learn, you have to do better and do better for your kids. I don't have kids. I have a niece and a nephew. I have god kids. I want them to be able to do even more than what I'm doing. I have been blessed to be able to start my business and, not have to work in corporate. And I am so, oh my God, that's like amazing just to be able to do that. But again, finances, keeping your finances low. I mean, your bills and things low, saving, managing your budget well. I do all of that. So please, please, please get yourself to a position where you do not have to stay within an organization that you don't want to be in. And I appreciate you guys. And lastly, I said lastly a couple times, I am going to be offering an HR new managers education online training. Okay. So what this is, some of the information I went over today will be in that, but I go into much more detail. There is a nightly session, 3-day nightly session, and then there's a Saturday session. They both will cover the same information. However, I know that some people are available on the weekends and some people are available in the evenings. So I'm offering it, and I hope that you guys will attend. It is $85 per attendee. But if you do join and you put in the promo code Kairos, it'll give you 30% off, which takes it down to about a little under $60. So if you have enjoyed any of this information today, trust me, there's more, a lot more, and it gets better. Okay. So I hope to see you guys there. And thank you guys for joining us today. This has been amazing for me so far.
Yay, LaShawn. Thank you so much. I don't know. Go ahead and stop sharing this. I don't know if you heard the information that LaShawn shared, but one of the key takeaways, other than reading that handbook, yes, ma'am, is investing in yourself. We have to invest. We have to get on YouTube. We have to go to trainings like LaShawn offers. We have to read the books. We have to find these groups like Living a Kairos Moment that are offering resources for us to do better. Okay, so understand, even with Ruth and Naomi, we're gonna get into it, but I got to bring these women. We're gonna talk about their business. But Ruth knew the law of the land, and Naomi knew the law of the land. Ruth had someone to coach her and did exactly what she was told to do. Ruth went out there and worked. She gleaned the field, and she didn't do it in just any kind of manner. Because if you read in the book, of, if you read the book of Ruth, Ruth even told her, Naomi even told her, be careful. I think Boaz told her, be careful who field you go in, because what would happen? It would be sexual harassment, all kinds of illegal things. But see, that's why it's important to know the law. That's why it's important to invest in ourselves. If there's something that God is pricking your heart about, or you're sort of curious about, go for it. My family teases me because I take a lot of trainings and go to classes, and I don't always get to finish. But at the end of the day, I have the knowledge. I still have the knowledge of where I attended that class. Now, she also said something very key: get your finances right. Now, I've been there. I walked away from a job, but I had some coins in the bank. Won a whole lot, but I knew how long I could go before things happen. So invest in yourself.